Explore the wonders of South America, from the mighty Amazon to the towering Andes and vibrant festivals.
We're talking about South America. Think towering mountains, massive rivers, the driest of deserts. This place has it all. It's a land of world records, so let's jump right in.
Latin America is a name given collectively to South America, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean islands. The region is referred to as Latin America because the people predominantly speak languages such as Spanish and Portuguese. These languages are derived from ancient Latin. Latin America is known for its many Aboriginal American Indian cultures, such as the Inca in the Andean region.
Okay, so first things first. Before we can really get into the cool stuff, we've got to know where we are in the world. So let's pinpoint South America on the globe. So, if you look at a globe, the continent stretches all the way from 13 degrees north of the equator down to a chilly 55 degrees south. And from east to west, it's sandwiched between 35 and 81 degrees west longitude. What this means is that it's almost entirely in the western and southern hemispheres. And, a huge chunk of it sits right in what's called the torrid zone, which, it's as hot and humid as it sounds. And you can really see the impact of that location right here. You've got the equator slicing right through the northern part. That's where you get those massive tropical rainforests. And then the Tropic of Capricorn cuts across the south-central part, which helps create this huge variety of climates all over the continent. The continent itself has such a distinct shape, doesn't it? It's like this giant, elongated triangle that tapers down, getting narrower and narrower until it points towards the south, ending at that legendary spot, Cape Horn. So naturally, being a continent, it's surrounded by some seriously big bodies of water. On the east, you've got the huge Atlantic Ocean. On the west, the even bigger Pacific. And then up in the northwest, it's bordered by the beautiful warm waters of the Caribbean Sea. Okay, this is super interesting. This is all about how South America connects and disconnects from the rest of the world. So you have the famous Isthmus of Panama, that skinny strip of land that links it up to North America. But then, way down south, you've got the Drake Passage, a notoriously stormy stretch of water that separates its southern tip from the icy wilderness of Antarctica. All right, enough with the maps and coordinates for a second. Let's get to the really mind-blowing stuff, the incredible physical features that make South America a true land of world records. So, running down the entire western coast like a giant spine, you have the Andes Mountains. And get this, they are the longest chain of fold mountains in the entire world. But it's not just about length. They're also the second highest mountain range on the whole planet. And what's really cool is that, geologically speaking, they're actually pretty young. They were formed much more recently than, say, the Rockies up in North America. And just to give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about here, the Andes run through 7 different countries. We're talking Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile. It's just this immense, continuous wall of rock that literally shapes the entire continent. Okay, so from the towering mountains, let's head down to the lowlands to talk about the legendary Amazon River. Now, it might not be the absolute longest river in the world, but the Amazon carries more water by volume than any other river on Earth. It's not even close. Its journey starts way up in the Andes, and it flows east all the way to the Atlantic, getting fed by rain that falls pretty much every single day in that equatorial region. And all that water supports the selvas, which is this incredibly dense, lush rainforest full of these massive hardwood evergreen trees. And as if all that wasn't enough, South America is also home to 2 of the most jaw-droppingly spectacular waterfalls in the world. First, over in Venezuela, you have Angel Falls. This is the highest uninterrupted waterfall on the planet. We're talking a staggering single drop of 979 meters. It's hard to even imagine. Then, straddling the border of Brazil and Argentina, you've got Iguazu Falls, which is the largest system of waterfalls in the entire world. It's just immense. Okay, so take a look here. The Eastern Highlands are basically split into 2 main sections. You've got the Guiana Highlands up north, and then the much, much larger Brazilian Highlands down to the southeast. Together, they create this ancient, elevated core that pretty much dictates where all the water on the continent flows. These highlands are basically geological time capsules. They're remnants of the ancient supercontinent Gondwanaland. And because the rocks are so incredibly old and hard, they are an absolute treasure trove of minerals like iron ore and tin.
In the north, we find the ancient Guyana Highlands, a vast plateau that stretches across Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. While impressive, these highlands are generally lower in elevation than the sprawling Brazilian highlands to the south. From the tabletop mountains of these highlands in Venezuela, The world's tallest uninterrupted waterfall, Angel Falls, makes its dramatic plunge. Fed by the Orinoco River system, it's a truly spectacular sight. Venturing to the extreme south, we encounter the plateau of Patagonia. Lying in the rain shadow of the Andes, Patagonia receives very little rainfall, which has led to the evolution of a unique and starkly beautiful cold desert landscape.
So you can see here, these lowlands are kind of strategically sandwiched between the Andes Mountains in the west and those eastern highlands we just talked about. And that positioning, that's the key to everything, because it creates this gigantic funnel for water.
The Amazon basin, which begins its journey high in the Andes Mountains and travels across the continent to empty into the Atlantic Ocean. It is situated in the rainy equatorial region, home to the selvas. Next is the Orinoco Basin, which is distinctly separated from the Amazon by the Guiana Highlands. Finally, let's look at the Parana-Paraguay Basin, which is located to the west and south of the Brazilian highlands. The Uruguay River flows down and merges with the Parana River in its lower course. Together, the Parana, Paraguay, and Uruguay rivers form a combined system known as the Rio de la Plata.
But hey, the lowlands aren't all just rainforest. If you head further south, you'll find the Pampas. These are vast, fertile grasslands, really the agricultural heartland of Argentina and Uruguay. The soil there is so rich that it's made the region a global hub for cattle ranching.
South America's extensive coastline is predominantly lined with narrow coastal plains. These low-lying areas tend to be at their most slender along much of the coast, but they broaden near the mouths of the continent's great rivers. On the west coast, the story is dramatically different. Here, the colossal Andes Mountains rise abruptly from the Pacific Ocean, leaving the region almost entirely without coastal plains. Central Chile features a series of these discontinuous lowlands. Similarly, you will find narrow coastal plains in Colombia and Venezuela. Coastal plains also grace the northern and eastern shores of Brazil. The Atacama Desert, located to the northwest of Chile, is the driest non-polar desert in the world. While this region is devoid of vegetation, it is rich in minerals such as copper, gold, and silver. Let's explore 3 key island groups of South America. First, Tierra del Fuego, an archipelago at the continent's southernmost tip, divided between Chile and Argentina. It's home to the famous Cape Horn. Next, we have the Falkland Islands, a remote group situated in the South Atlantic. Finally, the Galapagos Islands, a unique and remote archipelago in the Pacific, which is part of Ecuador.
Let's take a look at the nations, the people, and the cultures that call this amazing place home. So the mainland is made up of 12 independent countries, but there is one little exception to that rule, French Guiana. It's actually an overseas territory of France, and its capital is Cayenne. Now, when you look at the map, it's pretty clear that 2 countries really dominate in terms of size. Brazil is the absolute giant of the continent. I mean, it's the 5th largest country in the world, both in area and in population. Just massive. Argentina comes in as a very strong second. And on the flip side, you have Bolivia and Paraguay, which are the only 2 countries on the entire continent that are completely landlocked. Picture a map in your head right now. Can you figure out which 2 countries don't touch Brazil? All right, got your guesses? The answers are Ecuador and Chile.
Let's dive into the world of biodiversity.
I mean, from the legendary green anacondas and beautiful golden lion tamarins in the Amazon, all the way out to the giant tortoises of the Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador, the continent is just a sanctuary for species you won't find anywhere else. And it's not just the rainforest either. The Andes are home to the majestic condor and the llama. And then you have the vast Pampas grasslands in Argentina and Uruguay, which are some of the best pasture lands on the entire planet. The Galapagos are the ultimate example of island biogeography. Their total isolation has made them a living laboratory of evolution, famous for creatures like this magnificent giant tortoise, which can live for over 100 years. And the list of these unique creatures just goes on and on. You've got blue-footed boobies, you've got marine iguanas that actually swim in the ocean to find food. These are animals that evolved in complete isolation, creating this incredible one-of-a-kind ecosystem that you just can't find anywhere else on Earth.
The Amazon, the world's largest rainforest and a vital carbon sink, is often called the lungs of the planet. This crucial ecosystem, traditionally home to Amerindians, is rapidly shrinking. The main causes are resource exploitation, including logging and mining and devastating forest fires. This destruction is so severe that the Amazon is starting to release more carbon dioxide than it absorbs, worsening global warming. Here is a quick mind map for boundaries and water bodies. And here is a quick mind map for you to recollect the physical features.